Good morning to everyone. What an amazing audience. You're right, Peter. The IAPP is growing every year. So I'm happy to be with you this morning to say a few words about the future of data protection in Europe. We are, and Peter Hastings just said it, in a critical period. The GDPR has been adopted, and we have less than 18 months to be ready. May 2018. The countdown has started for you and the new compliance obligations that you will have, and for us, DPAs, that will need to finalize a new governance model, issue guidance to controllers and processors in order to have a full harmonization. So there is clearly a lot of work and efforts in front of us. But I want to start by saying that this is worth it, because the GDPR answers to the new needs and trends we collectively have to face. First, it answers to the confidence crisis that has emerged since the last 3 years. Of course, following the Snowden revelations, but more generally, confidence crisis of the consumers, of the individuals, of the peoples, I would say, around the relationship they have with you, business representatives, as regard their data. People are more and more enabled to understand the complex and fast-evolving ecosystem. They feel they could be used by it and not in a position to make their own choices. They want to be reassured. The GDPR answers to that by putting the individuals at the center of the regulation, in particular by reinforcing their rights or by recognizing new rights like the right to data portability. But also it answers through the new compliance efforts that will be asked to you. Compliance is no longer a pure legal and sometimes, let's say, theoretical issue. It enters the business processes themselves. PIA, DPO, privacy by design and by default, a complex set of tools at your disposal to manage your compliance in a dynamic way. Obviously, it will be more demanding than in the past. But again, I think it's a profitable investment. It is a profitable investment because, in fact, a smart accountability system transforms conformity into a competitive advantage. It is a question of reputation, of consumer trust, of market values. It's also a way to diminish the risk in terms of sanctions. So it is in your business interest to comply. All the DPAs want to help you to adapt to this new environment. For that, we want to clarify as much as possible the obligations of the GDPR. And sometimes, let's be honest, the GDPR is a little bit complex. So the Working Party 29 is working hard for the production of an operational toolbox, which we hope will be user-friendly and will help you to ensure compliance with the GDPR. 6 working groups and task forces have been constituted, and they are in action. And all DPA, European DPA, are committed, and we have adopted an action plan for this year, defining our first priorities, and in particular on 4 subjects on which we want to issue guidelines for you, controllers and processors. 4 priorities: the notion of high risk and the data protection impact assessment. This is a new tool. Certification, the portability right I just mentioned, and the DPO. Let me insist on 2 of these subjects. The DPO. There are several DPO in the room, I'm sure. Why is it important for us? Because we believe the DPO is a kind of chef d'orchestre of the toolbox. his role will be, or her role will be critical for the accountability. So the Working Party 29 wants to support this function. Data portability, because it's a key levy to help individuals recovering their sovereignty over the data and rebalancing the asymmetrical relationship between him and her and the companies using the data. Data portability is also important because it offers avenues for innovation and new services around the data. On these two subjects, we will finalize the guidelines of the Working Party 29 in December at our plenary. On the two other subjects, we will publish guidelines in 2017. Of course, besides guidelines to the controllers and to the processors, another priority for us is to establish our new governance model. Concretely, what is a new governance model? It is concretely how DPA are going to work together on issues of common interest. And there are growing issues of common interest between us. DPA's governance, European DPA's governance, has been criticized in the past. Too heavy, too slow, not harmonized between the different European countries. Now we want to be imaginative, in line with the very decentralized nature of the internet, but also efficient, coping with the need of global actors. The GDPR provides a very sophisticated system of cooperation between DPAs, with 4 levels of cooperation: mutual assistance, joint operation, etc. We are currently in the process of preparing all types of tools necessary to make this cooperation mechanism ready for 2018, from filling forms to flowcharts or step-by-step procedures. We also have to set the EDPB, last layer of our governance model. The EDPB, European Data Protection Board, will be a new European body. It will be responsible to arbitrate disputes between the national authorities and also to develop a European doctrine. This EDPB is a major step forward in Europe. It gives the ability of the European data protection community really to speak with one voice on operational cases and on substantial issues. It will give a robust identity to the privacy community in Europe. We are currently, at the Working Party 29 level, developing all the procedures relating to the creation and the functioning of the EDPB in cooperation with the EDPS that will provide the secretariat of the EDPB. Ladies and gentlemen, you realized this morning that the GDPR is in fact a major cultural and operational change in Europe. Under this new legal framework, DPAs will have the ability to express a common idea, a shared vision in Europe, and to strengthen the European sovereignty. But at the same time, we DPA, we don't want our community to be closed. And it will be my first final remark. We want to be open to the outside of Europe and to create interoperability, all the more as the GDPR has extraterritorial reach. Therefore, the Working Party 29 has started to develop a closer collaboration with our international counterparts, in particular, recently with IAPP, the Network of Asian Pacific Privacy Authority in Singapore, and later this month we will meet in Mexico. In the past, we have already been in close contact with APEC members. We will also probably organize a meeting in May around one of the meetings of the OECD meeting in Paris with our Asian Pacific colleagues in order to exchange on the future GDPR. My second final remark will be to say that the DPAs won't be able to succeed with the GDPR without you. As I said first, we are in the same boat. in front of this huge effort. So we need your input. As we organized in July the first Fab Lab to discuss the 2016 priorities with EU representatives from the industry and from the civil society, and this Fab Lab went very well, we need to repeat the exercise for the next year. So I invite you again to contact the presidency of the Working Party 29 team and give information on what you think is important, is essential to discuss within the Working Party 29 and what you believe is needed to make this GDPR more practical. I'm convinced that we must develop our guidelines with your participation, and I'm waiting for your thoughts for the next year of the Working Party 29 priority. Thank you to all of you.